Dear guests, we're starting our panel discussion titled Parliaments in a Fragmenting World, Safeguarding Democracy and Navigating Geopolitical Change. And let me introduce our moderator, Gayane Abrahamian, President for Equal Rights Educational Center, Armenia. Dear moderator, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear colleagues, it's a great honor for me to moderate this panel and to be joined with this such great distinguished parliamentarians and political leaders. Thank you very much for joining us today. So our discussion is about parliamentary dimension. We are living through a period where geopolitics divisions are deepening, democratic institutions are under pressure, war has returned to Europe or has been closed. Disinformation travels faster than truth, and trust in democratic institutions is no longer guaranteed. It must be earned constantly. In this environment, parliaments are no longer just legislative bodies. They are becoming the frontline institutions tasked with defending the democratic legitimacy itself. So each of our speakers brings not only institutional authority, but also lived political, huge experience from very different national contexts, yet all united by shared responsibility, safeguarding democracy in increasingly complex times. So before starting, I would ask you to have your answers within 3 minutes per question. And sorry, I will gently interrupt or intervene just in order to keep the fairness. Mr. McConnell, Lord McConnell, let me start with you. Drawing on your experience, both as First Minister of Scotland, being part of the political generation that helped shape a new parliamentary system in Scotland, and as the UK's special representative for peacekeeping, peace building, how do you see the role of parliaments today in this increasingly conflict-affected and polarized world? And what practical steps can parliamentarians take to contribute to peace, stability, trust building across societies and across nationwide? Thank you.
Okay, this is a huge question with many different aspects. I'll try and focus on what is maybe the most important. I think if we agree that democracy is absolutely essential and we are in a fight to defend, in many cases improve democracy against those who prefer destabilisation and conflict, then we have to see parliaments as a key element within that, obviously. And therefore, we have to ensure that our parliaments are strong and inclusive and protected from abuse, but also that they play a fundamental role in all of the post-conflict environments that will arise through this era. And in the UK, we were very lucky in many ways. In Scotland, we were very lucky, at least in being able to create a parliament through a peaceful process that was inclusive and through all the turbulence of the last 25 years has been stable and representative. In Northern Ireland, we had a very different situation where the Parliament and the Assembly arose out of a conflict, but again was able to include the two sides in that conflict and therefore has been able to maintain a peace over the last 25 years. So I think parliaments are fundamental in the defence of democracy, but they are also a fundamental tool for resolving conflict and for ensuring that the post-conflict environment is stable and representative. And we need to see this discussion, I think, in both of those contexts, given the increase in conflict around the world that we've seen over the last 5 years.
Thank you so much, Honorable McConnelly. Mr. Coletian, if I may turn to you. While we are discussing here the evolving role of parliaments, actually in your country, just yesterday, currently the country is going through the very vivid example of parliamentary power in action. With the recent no confidence vote leading to the government's collapse. At the same time, Romania has faced other serious democratic challenges, including cancellation of presidential elections amid concerns over external interference. Actually, the issue which nowadays are in Armenia's political landscape debate, the same issues and the same threats actually. How do you define the line between protecting democracy and protecting democracy, ensuring security, while at the same time not undermining democratic values and not undermining democracy itself?
Thank you so much. It's an important question, and I thank you for raising this question. I will start by mentioning the fact that in our case, in the case of Romania, we have defined early 90s the fundamental strategic goals of the country. And it was a very serious discussion within the Romanian society at the political level, different other levels representing the civil society, trade unions, different other social actors. And it was a bipartisan conclusion, a unique conclusion that EU and NATO are the two fundamental goals of Romania, and we didn't change things then. This is why we reached that bipartisan approach within the parliament during the years, during the process of negotiation for the accession to both NATO and EU. We have started with NATO. We assured the national security of the country, and then immediately after that we fulfilled and we succeeded to join the EU. So through the years we succeeded to have within the parliament the same attitude on the big issues, not on some other issues, because it's a democracy, a vivid democracy, and you have mentioned the motion of unconfidence that have been adopted yesterday. I will mention you in very clear terms that we'll continue on the same line. After this motion of unconfidence, there will be a pro-European and Euro-Atlantic attitude, because both our European identity and the connection, the strategic partnership with the United States are key pillars for Romania. So when serving these fundamental goals and working with the Romanian society is not so complicated to try to deliver on one side good governance with a constant economic growth. I can mention you what was the economic performance of Romania during the years, and in the same time to keep the contact and to engage the Romanian society in supporting this European and Euro-Atlantic identity. Of course, the transition process was not very easy. Several challenges. Now we need to face different type of challenges with the disinformation and manipulation process coming from the East, from Russia. Also in the context of the war, crime of aggression committed against Ukraine, with the drones crossing from time to time the Romanian-Ukrainian border, hitting different targets in Romanian land, which is against the international law, with challenges against the Republic of Moldova, and we are very solidary with our brothers from the other side of the river, and of course strongly supporting Ukraine, but we can manage, and we have the democratic tools also together with our Euro-Atlantic and European partners to manage these challenges. The Parliament is playing a key role in this process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And continuing to this note, Mr. Makisha, Ukraine is at the forefront of defending democracy and sovereignty, and actually you're doing not only for Ukraine, you're doing for all of us, and we're grateful for you, to you. As a member of parliament working under full-scale war conditions, how do you balance the urgency of crisis management with the need to preserve democracy, to preserve democratic procedures, accountability, oversight, because this is really very difficult, and I can tell this from my own experience as a former member of parliament working in the same, again, wartime.
Thank you. I tell you more. I'm representative my districts in the border of Russia, so it's a little bit harder, just a little bit. But you need to understand that we're fighting for this democracy, and you need to know that we are not Russian. We not just saying and do it different way. If we're fighting for this, we're doing the same. And you need to understand Ukrainian. If you don't listen him, what they saying, you can start the war, but you never start the revolution. And if you want to step another way from democracy, you always remember that you came home and you see your neighborhoods, you see your friends, you see another people that you're saying you do wrong. And this thing, this motivated, you never forget that you're doing something strange, something maybe wrong, and when government do wrong step, this anti-corruption agency, we all see what happened. So, zero possibilities, do it wrong, and going another way from democracy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is really ultimate responsibility that you have, but in your case, it's double responsibility to keep that front line. And going to Croatia, Mr. Rakan. Croatia has gone through a demanding path from post-war recovery to EU integration, requiring sustaining reforms and strong parliamentary engagement, strong parliamentary oversight, and also strong parliamentary negotiations, also the parliamentary diplomacy. So please share your experience, because this is something at this moment for Armenia is really very important, and we should find relevant countries to learn from your experience.
Thank you. Allow me just one brief sentence about Ukraine today, where it is, because Croatia was in this position 30 years ago when we were fighting our war for independence. And the country you are building today in Ukraine, democratic institutions you are building today, procedures, what you do today is the country you're going to have tomorrow. It will be very difficult to change bad practices. That is Croatian experience. European integration for Croatia was a key changing point because we managed to have a national consensus. All parliamentary actors, all parliamentary parties, all parliamentary forces were for EU. And that allowed a unified front, which meant that we did not have opposition in the parliament who would argue against some reforms. We all supported it. And reforms to join EU are very difficult. They are not easy. They change the way people have lived for centuries in some areas. And this national consensus really helped. And this is what I tell every country who is an EU candidate or aspires to join EU. If you have 50% of parties supporting it, it's going to be very difficult because there's going to be a change of government. So then the next government might reverse what the previous one did. This is very difficult. National consensus is the most important thing of all major parties to be able for a country to do the reforms and in the end join EU. Thank you.
Thank you. And coming back to Armenia, to home, Mr. Khandanyan, in recent years, Armenia has gone through serious, profound challenges, from war to forced deportations, disinformation, and disinformation campaigns, and hybrid threats. Now we are facing more of that, especially hybrid threats and cognitive threats. In many ways, democracy itself become a primary target, and at the center of it stands the parliament. In this context, how can we ensure that public trust in democracy is not eroded? Because, as you might know, the main narrative and fake narrative is that you want a democracy, you got a war, and this was the case with Georgia in 2008, in Ukraine in 2014. So in our case, this was the main message and the main demonization against democracy. So what will be the parliament and what is the parliamentary's role in this to fight against this message and to actually to defend the democracy?
Well, thank you. First of all, I would like to welcome my colleagues in Yerevan. Thank you for accepting the invitation and being with us these 2 days. And I also want to welcome Speaker Peter de Roover for being with us today, the Speaker of the Belgian Parliament. We are humbled by your presence, Mr. Speaker. Going back to the question, well, that narrative was proven wrong, that democracy brings war. And the best example for that is the Armenian experience, because democracy, at the end of the day, brought peace. And this is a lived experience for us, for parliamentarians as well. And this was what we heard from the people in 2021, when we were after the war, after the internal political crisis. We went out to streets, we spoke with the people, and we realized that people require peace. And therefore, I think the main tool for protecting democracy and fighting this false narrative, disinformation, and threats to democracy is good communication. We need to provide people with better communication. And sometimes politicians fail treating citizens as electorate, but they are source of our legitimacy, and we need to go down and talk to the people. And those politicians, those political parties who are able to go to listen to people and to talk to the people, they are successful. And this will be also proven in a month in Armenia, I believe. So I think it is very important to sometimes go out from the digital space and talk to the people physically. And I would like to narrow down one specific group of people, which is the most challenging now. It's young people. You work with young people, Gayane, on a daily basis, and you know how, and not only in Armenia, everywhere else, young people are getting more disintegrated from politics, from decision making. So it's very important also to talk to young people to see what they are thinking about their lives, their future, and to adapt our policies and adapt our narratives to their priorities. That is, I believe, the most challenging part because, well, in Armenia we have many young politicians, as you can see, but you know, we were. I, as a young politician, blame previous generations of politicians of leaving the conflict and the problems as a burden to our shoulders to solve. And now we have to, we don't have a right to do the same. And I do not want to be blamed afterwards by future politicians of leaving problems unsolved for them.
Thank you very much. And maybe the best message for, especially for youth and for our society about the importance of democracy will be building very proper and very institutional democracy and doing the reforms. So we have still huge road and work forward. So the second round, again, honorary Mr. McConnell, I'm coming back to you to share your perspective, describe the warfare in this decade, because this is not just constitutional warfare, this is cognitive, this is hybrid, where Parliament also, again, on front line. But this range from disinformation campaigns to cyber attacks to crypto financial mechanisms such as money laundering through cryptocurrencies, etc., all of which can directly undermine democracy and democratic systems. So what parliamentarians can do in this regard, because, or the question maybe will be, do they have proper tools to fight against such challenges? Because, or our main tools are from previous era, which doesn't really work now. So we have to think also in this regard.
There is a lot of legitimate talk at the moment across Europe, in East Asia and Japan and Korea and elsewhere, about the need to rearm, to deal with the current threats as best exemplified in Ukraine. But I think we also have to recognise that alongside that physical battle, we also have a battle for democracy, and that is at home nationally, but it's also international. And we've seen recently in the UK the introduction of crypto corruption into our politics. We are, and this is a factor that we are seeing now right across Europe and elsewhere in the world, the use of money that is not transparent affecting our politics, alongside disinformation, alongside denigration of democracy, to try and convince young people that democracy does not matter. And I think those of us who believe in democracy, who believe in parliamentary systems and public transparency, we have to get alive to the fact that we are now in a battle of ideas, in a parallel war to defend democracy and to preserve and extend democracy around the world. And you know, in recent years we've had former President Biden talking about a global alliance for democracy. We've had the coalitions of the willing governments coming together, whether it's to defend Ukraine or to try and bring peace in certain regions. But parliamentarians and Democrats need to stand up too. And I think we need to come together globally and ensure that future generations understand the critical importance of democracy, the change that that brought to Eastern Europe, the change that it has brought perhaps more recently to this region and other parts of the former Soviet Union, the change that it's brought in parts of Southeast Asia, and the way in which a democratic parliamentary system, because of its inclusivity and because of its transparency and the scrutiny that it brings, it can ensure that governments are behaving properly and that people have full representation. So I think this is a global fight now. I think dealing with the disinformation, dealing with the dirty money, dealing with the disillusionment that is fed by everybody now, from America to Russia to elsewhere in the world, those of us who genuinely believe in powerful democratic systems, Parliament's at the centre of that, we need to stand up and fight, we need to come together globally, and we need to win this battle over these coming years alongside any other challenges we might have in the more physical areas of defending the nations that we represent.
Thank you very much. Mr. Korletian, coming back to European dimension, because at this moment in Europe we see we see the fragmentation. And this is one of the main challenges because it used to be the main peaceful and democratic value that we used to see and we used to see as an example that we all wanted to be a part of it. In this fragmentation, how can national parliaments contribute to maintain unity within the EU? And what role can interparliamentary cooperation play? I mean, parliamentary diplomacy, partners also within the Europe, but also outside of the Europe, especially enlargement policy, which is, I know in Europe, internally is a huge discussion issue, and not, of course, all the countries really keen to accept this idea.
Again, thank you for the question. The national parliament is not an abstract entity. It's composed of political parties, political groups, people, individuals with political background, and of course with goals and values. So what you need is to define the proper majorities to support the proper European and Euro-Atlantic identity and orientation. This is how we worked in the national parliaments, how we worked within this complex and quite often complicated Europe currently. But we succeeded if you look on both the European Parliament at the level of the European Union, but also at the level of the Council of Europe. And with Ivan Račan, we are colleagues in the same parliamentary assembly. We have also our very close colleagues from Armenia being part of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. So we succeeded during these complicated years to secure the proper majorities. And this is why I give you one example, making reference to the dramatic situation coming from the crime of aggression committed by Russia against Ukraine. It was the only international organization, the Council of Europe, that succeeded at 15th of March to exclude Russia from the organization based on an unanimous vote one day before the Committee of Ministers coming from the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. That means the national parliaments of the Council of Europe supported strongly this decision for the obvious reasons. And now it's the Parliamentary Assembly political engine through the national parliaments, including my own national parliament, which is supporting the finalization of the process for the establishment of the special tribunal for the crime of aggression. In the Romanian parliament, it's a clear position. It's a majority. It's not a unanimous vote, not anymore, because of this say, populistic trends, and we are subject of the same Russian virus. It's clear. But we succeeded to manage this negative process and to assure this clear majority in support of our fundamental democratic values. Multilateralism. I saw the papers that have been distributed before the forum. It is made a clear reference to multilateralism and the international society based on rules, not on the use of power. This is part of our democratic background, and we are strongly supportive. You will find this specific reference on in any or all the foreign affairs chapters of any governmental programs in my country. So this is the right attitude. The enlargement process is one of the key elements that we are using in supporting one of the most successful projects and tools of the European Union. And now we are interested to use it more, even using the tools of the Council of Europe, because the Balkan region, the Eastern Partnership, Ukraine, the Republic of Moldova, now seeing back on the track Armenia, strong support for Armenia's European goals, and we are working on a strategic partnership currently, which will include this very substantial dimension of supporting Armenia for its European path. So this is how we can manage this type of challenges, which are real, where we need to face within our European societies, but we need to stick together based on the democratic acquis.
Thank you very much for the great example, which is really specific, and this really gives the main understanding how it really works in reality. Again, Ukraine and Mr. Megisha, Ukraine's experience has become really an example, huge example for all of us, to example of resilience, on keeping the democracy in under extreme pressure. But I want to look ahead. So looking ahead, how do you ensure that extraordinary measures taken during wartime do not become permanent, and that democratic institutions fully return to normal functioning once the conflict ends, and I do believe that it will be very soon. And these questions really resonate what Mr. Rakan said, bringing example of Croatia.
Yeah, you always had the possibility, whole country, except, especially when you had some conflicts or especially war. But we have the greatest values in our country. It's our people, our society. And they always want to choose, always want to change, always want to vote, but they didn't. And now they understand and tolerate that we have some specific laws and rules, but it's can be continued that war is stopped, war is end. And example what I give you about anti-corruption agency, it's a good example that our people don't want specific specific thoughts our government about that. So if people want another way, go another way, go to democracy, go to they want a new breath, new people, maybe new blood. They want to vote, and if these laws and these rules don't give this that chance, Ukrainian it's doing how we want, and whole politics in our country understand this. So I think that's it could be, but it's not in our country. I'm pretty sure for this. Thank you.
I believe also. Thank you very much. And again, Mr. Racan, based again on Croatia's experience, what would be your key advice for countries like Armenia that are deepening their cooperation with the EU? Based on your experience, how can smaller states use their parliaments to amplify their voice in international affairs, and to, especially for deepening cooperation with European countries, bilateral, multilateral, what is the main role of parliamentary?
Thank you. The main role of a parliament is to have a debate, a discussion on whatever is on the agenda.
Please keep closer.
Closer, sorry.
Thank you.
So the main role of a parliament is, or the key benefit of a parliament, maybe that is a better way of putting it, is to have a public discussion of any item that is on the agenda. Armenia is a former socialist country. Croatia was also a former socialist country. So was Romania, so was Ukraine. We do not have a history of democracy. You do not have a history of democracy here. So you have to build it. I can tell you an example. When we had our first elections in 1990, it was actually one of the British lords who was looking at us, thinking, and we all thought how we are now a democratic country, and we did this. And he just said, no, you need to go through 12 cycles of elections before you can say you have become a democratic country.
Yeah.
We were like, what is he talking about? Now, today, he was pretty much right. It took us more than 35 years to come to better standards, to better understand democracy, to have better practices. And it is a never-ending development. You always have to build it and rebuild it and rebuild it and work on it. And this is the biggest benefit that you have from a parliamentary democracy in a country like yours. Have open debates. Do not hide things from the people. Do not hide things from the press. Have it out in the open. In the end, it is easier. There is, of course, today a different issue in the modern world, and that is the state of media. Sometimes there is too much debate in the parliament, and no one really cares. No one really follows. But the alternative I don't think is acceptable. Debate, discussion, have it out in the open. That is the biggest benefit of any parliamentary system.
Thank you very much. This is what actually I said during my opening remarks. Democracy is not guaranteed. We have to regain it again and over. And this is the main challenge for this decade, I guess. And coming back to, again, Armenia, Mr. Khandanyan, how do you see the evolving role of parliaments in small and medium-sized states navigating today's geopolitical shifts? And this is what last several years Armenia's foreign policies is about. Trying to maneuver, trying to navigate within different geopolitical interests and to push for Armenia's interest itself. Especially how should be the parliamentary diplomacy, because sometimes I would just add one small light note that seems that sometimes parliamentary diplomacy reacts faster because of more freedom, because of more personal connections as well, and also considering the bureaucracy in executive body.
I think that the answer of the question is what just Mr. Racan said. It's transparency, the role of the parliament, especially at these times when the information is, from the media you cannot really realize what is going on. on international politics, in national politics, and transparency and open debate is very important. And I confess that we do not provide a very good quality of debate, parliamentary debate in Armenia as well. So our task also, when it comes to the interparliamentary cooperation, is first of all educational. We have a lot to learn from the fellow parliamentarians. For us not to take it 35 years, but a bit less. And that is very important. Of course, I agree that the parliamentary diplomacy for us, especially for the last few years especially, played a crucial role, because not only it's faster, but also it's sometimes there are messages that diplomats are a bit hesitant to convey, and parliamentarians, being also direct representatives of the people, are more free to express to the colleagues. And in this regard, I believe that, and Mr. Korlatian also touched upon that, that interparliamentary multilateral platforms are very important for that. And the small, medium-sized countries, I think we need to use all resources provided by interparliamentary platforms such as Council of Europe, OSCE, and others, because these are good platforms also to voice the issues, and also for the connections. I would also add one detail. These days, when in very democratic countries, elections are still being challenged and democracy is being challenged, I think it's very important for parliamentarians to keep an eye on the elections in different countries. And I think in this regard, election observation missions are playing key role in this, and PACE and OSCE Parliamentary Assembly are very important institutions. So for us, I mean, we put a very big importance, we attach a big importance in this as well, to be able to learn, but also to contribute in making other democracies more resilient.
Thank you very much. So I will open the floor for questions for the audience. Please raise your hand. I will try to see. The room is too big. If there is no any question, I will go through another round of questions, because I have lots of questions. So, okay, we have no any question from the audience. So I will ask another question, but general question. But actually, Mr. Korlatian reflects on that, but I would like to hear also other opinions on this issue, because now especially in pro-democratic and democratic countries, because I'm pretty sure Armenia is not that, we are not still institutionalized and fully democratic country, but we have these aspirations. But usually now the main challenge is that some forces, political forces, using democratic tools are fighting against democracy. And in this regard, how we can really preserve, how we can really defend democracy, but not compromising with democratic values, not compromising and violating democracy. This is really a huge challenge, and this is a debate in Armenia as well. Please, Mr. Korlatian. Yeah.
Well, it's not a dilemma. It's something that you need to define and to find the appropriate tools for the management. For instance, I was thinking to the fact that we have in our national parliament, of course, in receiving also this negative influence on issues of how to deal with the migration in a populistic way. And we have this discussion also in my committee, the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Romanian Senate, which in our system is the upper chamber is the decisive chamber of foreign policy and national security. So I have these discussions with, we have this discussion with the members from the opposition, that type of the opposition. And it's based on the authority of the arguments and the experience in foreign policy to determine the others also, it might be a paradox, to accept this, let's say, arguments. So essentially, usually 99%, I don't have votes against. I have only abstentions, if there is the case. So you need to work very direct with the authority of the experience. I have a lot of colleagues, well experienced, did a lot of good things for the country, which are appreciated also from the opposition. So when dealing with such challenges, it's important once again to define the appropriate majorities. For instance, we had a discussion, a serious discussion a few months ago when we have discovered, because of these threats coming from the Russian drones, that we don't have the whole legislative package that will allow the military to take action and to provide the military command the decision the next second, and not asking the political establishment to give the approval, and so I'm simplifying the discussion. And we have a very profound discussion with the chief of the army and the other generals within us in the defense committees, and with, of course, a certain level of discrete attitude. And we succeeded to define a 99% positive vote in favor of the new legislation. Before that type of discussion, there was a lot of populistic, let's say, attitudes and things like that, that we are preparing to go in war against Russia, things like that, trying to threaten, to encourage the population to have emotions and things like that. So you have the appropriate, let's say, parliamentary tools to manage this type of challenges. And only one short comment, because I want to say it. It's an inclusive approach. You need also to work with the others that share the same type of democratic values. You need to engage also the others. And you need also, in Romania's case, for instance, all these years, to be inclusive also in engaging also the national minorities in the countries, in our country. We have 17 plus 1 national minorities in Romania, plus 1 because the ethnic Hungarians, 1.2 million people out of 20 or even more million Romanian population, they have the normal electoral representation in the parliament. The other national minorities are a smaller minority, including the Armenian national minority in Romania. And nevertheless, we have a mechanism of constitutional mechanism providing almost automatically one seat for every and each national minority. It's important to have the voice of the national minority in the parliament. They are regrouped in a political group composed of 17 MPs, which is an important political group. And of course, we are engaging them. For instance, with the Armenian national minority, I thought at a certain moment in Romania, everybody from the Armenian community is called Varojan. Everybody is Varojan. Varojan Pambucian, who is the political leader of the political group of national minorities. By the way, it's an exceptional person. Mathematician, well-educated, elite. Varojan Vosganian, a former minister, who is currently the president of the National Union of the Writers in Romania, ex-minister of a colleague of mine in the Romanian government. They are supporting these European standards and values and so on. So we have a certain comfort within the parliament also to challenge the challenges and to find the appropriate answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lord McConnell, please share your experience and your thoughts on this.
I think listening to the other contributors, I think there are two things that I would really want to emphasize here. The first is that although this contest between the Democrats and the anti-Democrats, which is a global fight at the moment, that contest is really serious, and we need to drop any complacency, and we need to be engaged in that in that battle, I think we can also be positive. And we've seen just in the past 12 months, we've seen the example in Ukraine that has been mentioned of the Ukrainian parliament correcting a mistake by the government, ensuring that the country stays united in the battle that they face. We've seen in both Romania and in Hungary, the people of the country, not just the politicians, but the people of the country, resisting the interference of Russians and others in trying to corrupt their politics and change their democracy. So it is possible to galvanize people and to galvanize parliaments to preserve what is important and to ensure we have the independence that each country needs. The other side of that, though, I think, is that I think multilateral institutions and systems need to be a little bit more sensitive to those issues of national identity and democracy that have to be part of the framework. Yeah, we do need to live in a multilateral world. We live in an interdependent world, but we also need to recognize that people's identity matters to them at home. So there's perhaps a better balance to be struck. And the other important point, I think, is the one about patience that was made by our friend from Croatia. No new democracy happens overnight. There are always going to be ups and downs along the way, and patience is a very important component of building a strong democracy. I'll just give you the example of Northern Ireland. The different competing forces were at war with each other, perhaps for centuries, but certainly for most of my adult lifetime. And when the new peace agreement and the Assembly was created in 1999, the Assembly didn't meet for the majority of its first 10 years. But everybody was patient. Everybody understood the importance of peace and building that democratic institution. And today, there are people leading that institution that would never have been believed 25 years ago. But the institution has been preserved and the peace has been preserved. So patience is a critical component of building a new democracy and not being put off by the bad days, the bad moments, the delays in setting up institutions, but persevering. And in that situation, all of us, I think, around that, need to support Armenia and elsewhere developing the democracies that they so badly need.
Thank you very much. Maybe it's, I would say, easy for you, a country which has Magna Carta since early medieval. So, but for young democracies like Croatia, Armenia, and Ukraine, or not even young but very fragile democracies, this is a huge problem. So please, Mr. Mikisha, your thoughts on this, how you fight, especially against disinformation, malinformation, hybrid threats, and using democratic values, using freedom of speech, using electoral democracy, etc., but fighting against itself the democracy.
Yeah, I agree this thoughts that we are young democracy and 12 sections here, what we need to take this position, but we tried. We all tried. Our country tried, and you see this. And I think we're doing good steps and good deals. But we need to not to forget what we is Ukrainian. They have a big problem to our eastern border that try to stop our movement to democracy. Always do this. Spend billions of dollars for this. And one thought, what we do in our homework to do everything for democracy. And another thought and another opinion that we have a Russian who don't want what we be successful, be rich, be much more developed. They want to Ukraine, Armenia, Romania, Croatia even, that all this country going down like they are. And this is a big problem, and we fighting not only democracy in general. We try to damage this obstacle. And I not hope, I know pretty sure that we win for this battle. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rachan, please.
There is, of course, a well-known saying, now a century old, by Mr. Churchill, how democracy is horribly inefficient, terribly slow, and generally a bad form of government, but still it is better than all other forms of government that have been invented and tried. And this is the key position that I will always take. Until there is something better than democracy, we have to fight for it, and we have to fight for it again and again and again. And the hybrid threats are basically something that need to be dealt on a technical level. And these technical systems can be built, we can share experience, and we can help each other. But the biggest threat for democracy, in my opinion, is the perception of inefficiency. And this is where huge movements rise for autocracy. For example, it takes a parliament at least a few weeks, if not several months, to pass legislation to make a decision, while a government can do this in a day or two. And of course, it is more romantic, it is more sexy to be able to make a decision very quickly. But what if that decision was not in the best interest of the people? What when it's a mistake? One when there was no debate? And this is the main thing about why we need to preserve democracy, why we need to fight for it, because, as Mr. Churchill said, it is still better than anything else that we know.
Exactly. And last but not least, Mr. Khandanyan.
Thank you. It's difficult to be the last in the panel because all the good things are being said. So I will try to sum up. I think it's very important to have continuous development of institutional capabilities, because we now talk about AI, cyber attacks, etc., etc. In a decade, there will be a new type of challenges, and we will sit and discuss how to combat this new type of challenges. So it's very important, especially for Armenian context, to build institutions that, regardless of political will and regardless of the type of the challenge, they will sustain. So it's very important to have institutional development, and this will be continuous and aligned with the time. And of course, transparency and good debate, as was mentioned earlier, to shrink the space for disinformation as much as possible. Because when you leave the space open, when you do not feed with relevance normal information, there is a big space for this disinformation. So I think it's also the role of parliamentarians, the role of politicians to speak more and to provide better information and content to public. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, the information vacuum always creates disinformation and also conspiracy theory, which is really case in Armenia. So I have to close our discussion. Thank you very much, distinguished guests. It was really a privilege and honor for me. Just to conclude, today's conversation has once again highlighted that even in the times of crisis and polarization, parliaments remain essential pillars of democratic resilience, dialogue, and accountability. Or I would add that the main challenge maybe is no longer just how to govern democratically, but how to defend democracy without losing its essence. So thank you very much, and thank you, dear audience. I do believe that we will continue our discussion out of this room as well.